The 2024 edition of the annual Dr. Evil Experience 3-day mountain bike stage race started from Witterdrift School on a cold, rainy morning. But that didn't seem to bother the riders in the least.
Wet? I don't know what you're talking about.
The wetter the better.
The wetter the better, man. Yeah, lekker.
Yeah, it's just the start shoot that when you're standing there for the first 20 minutes in the rain, that's not ideal, but once you get going, it's all systems go.
I'm feeling good. I think it's going to be like a good shower, just a cold one.
Close on 200 riders rolled away from Witterdrift High School for stage 1, which at 58 kilometers might not have seemed like a seriously tough ride for the experienced stage racers in the field. But the 1,600 meters of climbing, combined with the persistent rain and resultant muddy, slippery trails and roads, made for a significant challenge for everyone, whether they were retired pros, wannabe pros, or just prone to riding mountain bikes occasionally. Warren Dixon led partner Warren Barber through the first and probably not the last flooded road section. A wet shoes and socks day for sure. The route took them up through Protea Wilds and onto the MTO Fisantuk land. Local legend Kevin Evans, perhaps already cursing dad Leon Dr. Evil Evans. One of the real highlights of the stage was the section through Pietersbrand. It's a section Kevin and partner Neil Clark know very well. Ben Fisher riding solo was on their wheels. Trail angel Louise Geese was just one of 40 happy e-bike riders, loving the trails. Out of the forest, they returned to Fisantuk. Jan Haysamen and Roland Peacock were going well in the men's team race. Tom Byram was leading the men's solo race at this stage. And Robin Hewlett was at the front of the women's solo race. Andrea van Blommenstein was behind her. She was in the mixed race with her husband Andrew. It was a wet, slushy, muddy stage. The type of day these riders would try and forget very quickly, but then talk about it for decades to come. Remember that day in the mud and the Dr. Evil. The only respite from the weather came at the Food Lovers Market water points. It's amazing how some good food and drink brings out the positive vibes, even in these very tough conditions. And that is essentially what mountain bike stage racing is all about. There are no guarantees as to what the weather will be like. You press enter and take what comes with good humor and grace. And strong legs. They got to experience a section of the legendary Harkerville Indigenous Forest Trails. A delight in any conditions. Before they arrived at the second water point, where the vibe was still positive.
Actually quite dry. There was a bit of wetness at the end here, which is why I look like I'm joking. That was good. Some crazy spots, but it's overall really good.
He's had to put up with me. I've been entertainment.
She's been good. She's been good. You got it, yo.
I've wallowed in the mud.
All part of the entry fee, of course. As was a world to the wonderful MTO trail network that has had mountain bikers flooding to Plettenberg Bay over the last 5 or 6 years, thanks to the drive of MTO ecotourism manager Do van der Merwe. It's situated on the Plet Airport Road in the ecologically sensitive 20-kilometre stretch of unspoiled coastline between Robberg Nature Reserve and Harkerville State Forest. It's an area known as the Robberg Coastal Corridor, and it links the Robberg Nature Reserve in the east to the Garden Route National Park in the west. After a tough day out in the wet, it was a cool way to finish stage 1 of the Dr. Evil Experience. Of course, as Murphy's Law would have it, the rain stopped and the sun came out as the later riders were rolling into the finish at Canbroggie. A short drive from Plettenberg Bay, Canbroggie Estate is a spectacular 100-hectare farm with so much to offer outdoor enthusiasts, from horse riding, fishing, hiking, and of course, mountain biking. And it was the start venue for stage 2.
I think it's going to clear up beautifully for tomorrow. But I think today is also going to be a really good day out on the bike. I mean, it is mountain biking, so you get a little bit of dirt, a little bit of mud, just adds to the experience, right?
The Dr. Evil Experience is centered around Plettenberg Bay. Riders make use of the many accommodation options in this beautiful garden route town instead of staying in a race village tent. The route devised by Leon Evans and Eric Klotwijk highlights the amazing trails that have been created by this passionate mountain biking community. like the founder of the event, Leon Evans, and his son, and so many more in recent years. Stage 2 was 49 kilometres with 1,200 metres of climbing. The early kilometres were awe-inspiring as they took the riders along the Cairnbroggie coastal cliffs with views for days over the Indian Ocean. Tom Byram had over 10 minutes on second place Bruce Campbell after stage 1. No rain today, yet, but still lots of puddles and mud to deal with. The Trail Angels do so with a smile. It was all business for Byram. Likewise, Warren Barber, and behind him, David Kinsey. They were back into the beauty of the indigenous Harkaville forests. The opportunity to ride mountain bikes through here is thanks to great cooperation with the MTO Group and Sandparks. The original trails here were built around 35 years ago by Dave Raynell, who along with Leon Evans and Robbie Powell were the first to ride them.
So we are so happy to be here, and this is not one of our first stage races, but one of our first ones as an e-bike team, and it's absolutely beautiful.
While most of the trails are accessible to riders all year round via a gate permit, these riders were fortunate enough to explore some that are normally out of bounds. Christo Lowe and Devon Oosthuizen were in good voice as they closed in on the waterpoint. Again, Food Lovers Market had laid on an absolute feast for the riders.
Tough, like yesterday. I don't know who Dr. Evil is, but I'm going to get him back one day.
You might have to get in the queue behind an early generation of Absa Cape Epic riders though. Wayne Bardenhorst looked as though he was enjoying his day out on the bike. And why not? It was truly spectacular. Very special to ride on one of the few indigenous forest trails in the country. Keegan Taylor here, looking like he was racing against rather than with his teammate Gavin Rabolini. Never mind the weather on the Dr. Evil, any time is a good time for a safari ride.
We're actually from Bloem, so we're not used to climbing in the wet.
We definitely don't ride when it rains.
And climbs is also different, so different, totally different, but we're getting used to it.
Unfortunately, they had more rain coming their way. Kevin Evans could see it coming off the ocean and was pushing hard for the finish, while Keegan and Gavin had called a truce and had donned their wet weather gear. A big wet squall was blowing in off the sea. Fifth on stage 1, Stefan van der Heever was on a strong ride as he passed Tom Byram. They were making their way back to Cairnbroggie. They were in for another treat as well as they hit sections of the MTO trails that they didn't ride on stage 1. The ecotourism boss at MTO was a happy man as he watched on.
It's such a nice time to get everyone, a concentration of people riding our trails, enjoying it, and they set up these routes so nice that it's a super challenge, and I'm sure everyone's smiling. The trails themselves are for intermediate and beginner style. It's not too extreme, so there's one or two difficult ones, but it's we want to make it accessible to everyone. And also the trail running is fantastic. We've got such beautiful places, we want to share it with everyone. The road forward is we're going to just carry on expanding on the trails that we have. We're going to move to the other side of Plet. We're going to expand a little bit there, create another nucleus, let's call it, of trails that side, similar to what we've got here in Cairnbroggie. And then we've got a couple of products up our sleeve with a mountain bike tour coming up. I think we're expanding nicely.
And mountain biking is indebted to Doe and the MTO Group for their vision and foresight and continued support of the sport. Stage 2 under the belt, it was high fives all round for the bike shop Betty's, Monica Taylor and Janine Oosthuizen. The third and final day dawned dry and sunny. What a delight and a reward for all the riders after 2 tough, wet, muddy days in the rain.
Very cool. I mean, we've got the sun, we've got blue sky, we've got probably some of the sickest trails in the country, and tribute to Leon Evans for putting a fantastic event together. I think we're going to be blitzy today. I'll see if I can hold Ked's wheel and take it all the way home.
They were in for an awesome morning's ride. 40 kilometres, 700 metres of climbing and kilometres of sensational single track. They explored much more of the MTO and Cairnbroggie trail network.
There's only 2 people that have ridden every single Dr. Evil. They come back every year. The one guy lives in Cape Town, the other one in PE,
and they tend to meet you every year halfway for a social weekend. So that's a good indication that it's how they love the event. But a lot of people keep coming back and back and back because the riding is so good and the vibe is so good, and it's just a great weekend to be away.
This event has been going for 11 years, and this is why it engenders such loyalty from the riders. It was as if the previous 2 days had not happened. The trails were firm and tacky, just how they should be. And the riders just released the slush and muddy memories and their brakes to get the very best out of themselves, their bikes and the trails. As they left one trail, they very soon dropped into another. Like an express highway snaking through the pine forest. What a delight. Perhaps the toughest part of the ride was deciding what to eat at the water points.
The sunshine is just amazing and the trails are perfect.
The Dr. Evil experience is not a bad place to begin your stage race journey. After all, it's not every day you get to see views like this from your bike. After a tough second stage, Bruce Campbell was on the charge on the final day, trying to claw back time and muscle in on the men's solo podium action. Back into more trails they went. They're so well made and maintained, allowing all the riders, regardless of experience or skill level, to get something out of it. Leon Evans and Eric Ludwig had given the field a ride and a route to remember at this year's event. A final roll along the coastal tracks at Kenbroke. And some more fast single track. Kevin Evans leading Dan Howards and Tom Byron. Once out of the forests and farms, they dropped down towards the Pisang River Valley. A swing over the Plet Dam Wall. Then up and through the Sonera Equestrian Park. The finish was at Barrington's, a boutique-style hotel and restaurant on the outskirts of Plet. No more than 500 metres from the bike shop, which is where the eventual men's team winner, together with Neil Clark, Kevin Evans, spends his working days.
I mean, just look at this weather today, and pity we couldn't have it for the first 2 days. That first day is probably the best route that you'll string together in this area, so hats off to Eric and my old man and the team for putting that together, but always a fantastic event.
Jaco and Cecil Bosman were 41 minutes back in second place. Tom Byron won the men's solo race by 16 minutes from Stefan van der Heever. Robin Hewlett beat Helen van Niekerk by 12 minutes to win the women's race, and Andrea and Andrew van Blomenstein won the mixed race. Despite the weather, the Dr. Evil experience delivered a fantastic 3 days on and off the bike.
That's all from this week's edition of Toyota Cadence. Cheers till next week.